Okay, you guys can grab your syllabus and we will get started. So I'm really excited for you guys to start this new semester in the pharmacy tech program. It's going to be pretty intense. This class is very much depends on you. I mean, you get out of this class what you put into it. And this is really dependent on you guys being responsible for your own work because that's just the way this class is. I want you guys to be as successful as possible in here, and that means you're going to have to study. And it'll be worth it, it will be worth it in the end for you guys to study hard now so that when you graduate, you can study for a little bit or maybe even get a job for a little while and then take your test. I want you guys to I want to prepare you guys as best I can for that. And so anyway, so the nature of this course this semester, the bulk of the coursework, I don't know about the coursework, but the bulk of the teaching is all online on Pass Assured. Hopefully you guys have logged into that and kind of looked around some on there. It's pretty straightforward and it's not real hard to understand what all you do. So the bulk of the class will be in there, and then the rest of the class is just kind of the supplemental instruction, and that's what I provide. So we'll have some lectures pretty regularly. You'll have additional work that I give you, as well as some weekly quizzes and things like that. I did this class for a couple years without doing a whole lot of supplemental instruction, and it just, my students were not successful at all. So it has gotten better over the course of the last couple years as I've kind of developed this supplemental section. So that's why it's really both, because I feel like Pass Assured is really not enough. So that being said, a few things supply-wise, what I want you to get for this class, hopefully you already have a list of that, but for sure you guys need like a 2 or 2.5 inch notebook and about 10 dividers. And you can go ahead and write this down because I don't think I wrote this in there. But as far as your dividers go, there are 6 sections that you will need to keep up with as we go through, and each one of those sections will have a test with it. So if you'll look on Pass Assured, you'll be able to see those 6 sections. I think the first one is the orientation. Boy, this is my teacher one. This one's gigantic. So yeah, so I have an orientation one, federal law, medication review, aseptic technique, calculations, and then should be one more, pharmacy operations. So those are your 6 kind of main areas of study we'll be digging into. You need to have one more divider that says PTCB, and you'll get all of that information like in the next day or two, today or tomorrow. You'll want all that. You'll want one section for, I can't remember, it's been so long since I've actually had a student. It's been a year since I've had a student actually make one of these. So we got 7. You'll want one for your abbreviations and abbreviation quizzes. You'll want one for your math worksheets and math quizzes, and then you'll want one for your medications and medication quizzes. So those are kind of your 10. If you want to divide it out further beyond that, you're welcome to. I would say in the front of your notebook or maybe in the pocket. Later on, you're going to get a conversion chart. So that's something else that you will definitely want to keep up with. And that's kind of where we are as far as those are concerned. So those are the dividers that you're going to want to make sure that you have. And like I said, there's lots of material in here. So I know it's a bad time to have a whole bunch of work because everybody tends to want to get senioritis at the end of the senior year, but you really have to, if you want to be successful in this, you're really going to have to put forth a lot of effort to do that. So I'm excited. I know you guys can do it, but you're going to have to stay strong and stay disciplined in this class in order to get that done. Okay, so a few other things I'll go over. Let's kind of look at the syllabus. You guys will pull out your syllabus. I won't put it up on the screen, but let me make my screen. Oop. I guess I won't share my screen since I can't see it. There we go. All right, so here's the syllabus. So much like other classes that I have, you know, rules are going to be the same. As far as this goes, I've already kind of explained how the nature of the class is. You guys need to have had principals if you haven't. I know there was one school that was kind of talking about that, but okay, contact. If you guys need something or have specific questions for me, make sure you email me at this Cooper address. Remember, I'm only here on campus 2 days a week, and I try to check from home, but sometimes it's really late or it just doesn't happen from home. And that's just kind of the nature of what's been going on. So about this class, we've already talked about that. Hopefully you guys have gotten logged in to Pass Assured. Again, you make sure you come to class prepared, that you're engaged, you're bringing good knowledge for everybody else and not just acting silly and wasting everybody else's time. Okay, your instructor is not responsible for what you do in your class. Okay, they're going to help you guys out. They'll probably have your quizzes and things like that to hand out, but ultimately you're responsible for that. Don't wait on them to tell you what to do. Look it up yourself. Look up the weekly paper and follow it along. It's going to look a little different. I'll show you in a minute, and then you'll be able to see kind of what it's going to look like. It's going to look a little different than how we've done things in the past. A little more responsibility on you guys. Okay, grades, they will go by your school policy. Now, Pass Assured takes grades, and your instructor at your class will be able to pull those up and see them. What that means, though, is that, one, there are tons of grades for this class. Tests, you know, you're not going to have a whole lot of tests. You'll have per grading period. Well, as for you guys at Wolf City, you guys will have more. But if you're in a 6-week grading period, then, you know, you're going to have one, well, no, you'll have that. You'll have 3 to 4 tests at a grading period. Okay, but all the grades are done at your school. So I will send keys. Some of it's just participation. So it's going to depend on you as to whether or not you actually do the work or not, or get the correct answers, things like that. So just know that some of that is coming. Now, one thing I will say, I don't know if I put it on here. Maybe I put it on later. Oh, tests. So most of the tests for this class, like the content tests that we'll take, are all on Pass Assured. I'll tell you this first section is the orientation section. The test is very, very, very easy. But that is not a picture as to what the rest of the tests are look like the rest of the year. Okay? They get very, very difficult, and you need to spend lots of time studying before you ever take the test over a unit. So most of the tests will be there. In addition to that, other tests that you'll have is every grading period, your medication quizzes will average to make another test grade, as well as your abbreviation quizzes. So your abbreviation quizzes especially, it's kind of a nice little jump, and kind of helps bring up your test average a lot of times by the end of the 6 weeks or 9 weeks or whatever your school is. So make sure you're studying your abbreviations every week. Gaggle, again, we're going to use Gaggle. It's a little different than we used to do. But that's where I will post all of your weekly lesson plan or your unit lesson plan. And that's where I'll put all of your notes. Will be under documents in Gaggle. And then your assignments, like your paper assignments, will be given to you by your teacher. Well, if I can put assignments on here, I'll do that, but quizzes for sure will be given to you by your teacher. Materials, we already talked about. Supplies, make sure you get a large binder, 2 or 2.5 inch, at least, minimum 2. 10 dividers. You're going to need to be able to have some online access. After school, at home, wherever, you're going to need it. And then a calculator. You'll want a calculator. Extra credit is the same as it's been for all my classes that you guys have taken. So you can do 2 a grading period. If you have a 6-week grading period, you can do 3 or a 9-week grading period. But if you're going to summarize, you just take an article, journal article or magazine article that's about health, and or you can find one online, summarize it, make sure you follow the instructions. I'll put that in your documents as well, the instructions for the extra credit, so make sure you see that. And again, it's always due the Friday before the last week of the grading period, not the Friday of the last week of the grading period, the Friday before it ends. All right, makeup work and late work will go by your school policy. That's all up to your school. I don't control your grades, so I don't even, you can contact me, but I'm not going to know what your grade is. If you have a question about something, you're welcome to do that. All right, medications. So 3 things that you'll have every week. And I didn't write the third one on here. Medications. So every week, you guys will get a new set of medications. And I'll kind of show you an example right now. I can find them. Wrong one. Here we got meds. Let's do this one. Here, we'll just look at the first one here. Meds, week 2. So every week, I'll put in your documents, I'll add in your medications, and this is what they're going to look like virtually. They get a little more detailed the further in the semester we go. Okay, but you got 10 medications. It's usually 10, I believe. And sometimes it's like 11 or 12. 10 to 12 medications every week. And you'll have a quiz over those. Just every Friday, you need to plan on taking the quiz. And that quiz is multiple choice. It's always going to be multiple choice, but it's also comprehensive. So like during week 2, you'll probably just have like 10 or 15 questions. Okay, but starting the next week, you're always going to have 20 questions. And they're comprehensive. They're not easy, I'll tell you that. And the reason I chose the medications I did that are on here is because those are all taken from the top 200 drugs for pharmacy technicians to know, basically. So that's where that list has come from. And I'll put notes down here, things that you need to know over here, purpose, classification, and we'll learn about drug classes in just a few weeks. But until then, you just need to know, kind of have an idea. And I'll go over these in detail every week more about the specifics on those medications, okay? But that's what that looks like. Now, you'll also have every week, you'll have an abbreviation quiz. And you guys should have your abbreviation list. It will also be in your documents, so that's where you need to look, okay? And on here, something to know, and I'll adjust this as, it has the old year, but it's the same list. So your abbreviation set 1, that goes with week 1. Set 2 is week 2. Set 3 is week 3, etc. So I may go back in and try to change that or something, but that's what it's talking about. Okay, so whenever you see that, so week 1, and you'll be able to tell what week it is. I'll send you when I send you out your schedule. Those are the abbreviations that you're going to study for that week, and you'll have a quiz. We always start quizzes on Wednesday, so you can opt to do those how you want to, when you want to, or at least your school can. We always just had abbreviation quiz every Wednesday, and it's also comprehensive. Kind of like our paydays used to be. It's the same idea. Okay, so that's what you'll see every Wednesday. So that's something in addition to what we're doing, you will have. Now, the other thing that you're going to have for the first 10 weeks is a math worksheet. And show you, go back to that here. Here we go. So these are really, you guys should have this math book. Your schools are supposed to have it, but in case they don't, I will send these too. And these are just copies. So the first 10 weeks, what we're going to do as far as math goes is it's just a review. Now, some of it's new. Like these are Roman numerals. You may need to study up on your Roman numerals so that you'll know those, because you do need to know them. But as far as everything else goes, it's kind of just basic math to kind of get your mind in the routine of doing basic math again. Because when we get to the pharmacy technician math in a couple months, okay, that's where we'll be. You need to be ready, and you need to know already kind of your basic math skills again. I know sometimes it takes you longer for all that to come back than you think it's going to. So we'll just do a math practice worksheet every week, and then until we get to the math chapter, and then we won't do these worksheets every week. You'll have worksheets within that chapter, but you won't have any beyond that. So just know that that's what that is. So those are 3 weekly things that you have in addition to whatever's on Pass Assured every week. You'll have your math worksheet, you'll have your abbreviation quiz, and you'll have a meds quiz. Now, the only exception to that is this first week we don't have a meds quiz, and then the week that we take our pharmacy medications test, which is in a few weeks, you don't have any that week. So there'll be some changes, but for the most part, that's what you'll see every week. And I think that's it. So make sure you guys have your parents sign this. It's got my information on it. If they have a question for me, bring that back to your teachers. Okay, so that's the syllabus. Now let me go over quickly what you guys can expect to see every week. Okay, so every week I'm going to send you in the discussion board in your class in Gaggle actually, I probably won't do this every week. I'm going to break it up into units. I'm going to do this a little different than I did last year, so I don't have the whole semester. Normally at this point I already have the whole semester already done, but I'm doing this a little different. I think it'll work better for you guys. It'll be a little more clear as to what is required each week, and then we'll go from there. So next week, it looks like a lot more work than what it actually is. For one, you have to remember, this is a 2-period class, so you should have an hour and a half every day to work on this, and it's just going to be busy. Okay, your time is going to be full. There's not a ton of lectures. A lot of it is just you working on your own, reading and answering questions or doing the workbook, whatever. So let's kind of go over this. So every week, I'm going to break it up, your weekly plan. So here's week 1. I'll put the dates on here. And then I'll put all the lectures, all the resources, which is like notes or things that you need to look up, and then your assignments. So lectures, your syllabus and intro to class. I don't have this link yet because I'm just now recording this. Intro to Pass Assured and the Pharmacy Technician Certification Board. So information about that is in this link. Okay, so you can watch that. Weekly abbreviations, if you'll just skip right here to minute 13, because last year I did everything a little bit different, so it's kind of squirrely for now. Skip to minute 13, and then you can just go over those abbreviations, and then you can turn it off when that's done. It's only like 5 minutes long. And then the blue textbook, our old blue textbook, anytime you see HS and then a page number or a chapter or whatever, HS is talking about that health science book. It's just the blue one that we use for principals, same textbook. So chapter 17 is something that we'll use for this first unit, the orientation unit, kind of an introduction to pharmacy tech as a whole. So those are your lectures for this week. Some of them are a little longer, some of them are really short. All right, so your resources, so your notes. Now, my suggestion is that you print all this off and file it in your notebook where I've told you to do, but you can do your own thing. You can always have, it's always online, so you can always access it there if you'd rather do that. So your syllabus, which we already looked at, your schedule, this is what it's talking about. The pharmacy technician, Okay, you'll see me abbreviate that as TPT. That is this textbook. Okay, everybody should have, there should be a copy of this textbook for everybody. Okay, so this is something else that you need for the week. Okay, the health science textbook, just our normal textbook. Again, that's the health science one. It looks like this. Okay. So page 17, and then the Pharmacy Technician Certification Board. Okay, I'm going to go over with you all these pages on this website. So you can either open it up and go to these websites as I'm doing the lecture on the screen, or you can go in and print all these off. You know, it's not going to hurt for you to go in and print each of these pages off because you can file it in your PTCB divider, like in your notebook, so that you'll have it when it comes time to start thinking about testing and the requirements to do that. You'll have all that information already written out. So that's what that is. And this is all on the same website. I just gave you direct links to each, page that I used in the lecture. PTCB stands for Pharmacy Technician Certification Board, by the way. That's where you, that's the organization that puts out the test that you take to become a certified pharmacy tech. And let me tell you this too, one thing that I don't have in this lecture that I did want to go over because I didn't know last year, but there's a couple routes you can go to do pharmacy technician. Okay, so you can either do this class, take your test, and go work as a pharmacy tech. Okay, another option is to take this class and go work as a pharmacy tech. You're called in order to work without a certification, you have to have a piece of paper from the state pharmacy board that says that you are, it's like a training certificate basically. And so you go on and you do your fingerprinting and you do all kinds of stuff like that, but they just give you, until you pass your test, they give you this like training certificate to actually work with. And you can work as a training pharmacy tech. And then after you get some experience, go back and take your test. I think you can only work with that for like 2 years. And if you don't take your test and pass by then you're done. That's all you can do. So I think you can probably go back and take your test again at some point if you want, but you can't work as a pharmacy tech. Basically, you can't work behind the counter. So that's something I did want to tell you about. If you go to, you can go to the Texas State Pharmacy Board and find information on that. So that's pretty easy. You will not take your certification test in this class. That's something that you will have to do on your own after you graduate, because one, you have to have a diploma in order to take the test to become certified. So that's something to know as well. Okay, and then your assignments down here. So on Pass Assured, each week you'll kind of have different units of assignments. On Pass Assured, you need to watch all the orientation videos. They are very short. Probably get them all done in one class period. And then take all of the quizzes. And so you'll see as you go through the Pass Assured lecture on here too, how to access those, and maybe you've already seen it. So you'll have videos for each, and then each little section has a quiz, and then you take a test after you're done with everything. So anyway, so for this, for under Pass Assured, watch the orientation videos, take all the orientation quizzes, your intro quiz. These are the 3 units, subunits that are part of orientation. The book work that you need to do this week, or week 1, is this health science, this blue textbook that we used in principles. You need to do 17-1, the review on that page, and the same thing on 17-2. And then you need to read chapter 2 of the Pharmacy Technician. A lot of it is just, you look over, it's a lot of what we've already talked about. So read chapter 2 in there, and then answer the workbook questions from chapter 2. And so this is the workbook that goes along with your book. You guys may each have a workbook, or your instructor may give you copies of it, whatever. And this is for your instructors. I normally just do participation grade on this. Again, you get out of it what you put into it. And I normally don't have my students do the true false. I find that it's really time consuming and I don't really know how helpful they are because they're really wordy and really strange questions, some of them. So that's up to you and your instructor, but that is something that I always leave out is the true false. I just make everybody do the other parts, the short answer and the matching and the short answer matching. Short answer and matching, that's it. You'll have your math worksheet for week 1, which I will get to you, and then your quiz for abbreviation set 1. There's no med quiz during week 1. And then at the end of the week, the last thing that you want to do, if you've done everything else, okay, you've done all your work and you've studied, is you'll want to take that orientation test. Okay, and that's a test grade. So I will say this, all quizzes and tests, okay, whenever we get to the end of the semester, you'll take your semester exam, everything, your final test is on Pass Assured. But in order for you to be able, for the computer program to allow you to even take those tests, you have to have an 80 or above on every quiz and every test and every study aid on Pass Assured, an 80. Now my video that you're going to watch later or tomorrow may say 75, but this year, as of 2016, they have changed it and you have to make it 80%. Now, once you make your first grade and your teacher writes down your grade, they can always go back and check them all. You can retake those tests and quizzes as many times as you want to. So even like your quizzes, you can, all that's going to show up for your teacher anyways is that you've done those. So you can always retake those, like to study for the test, retake the quizzes. But whenever it gets to the end, I'm just telling you, don't wait until the end of the year to go back and try to make an 80 on everything because you will have a really hard time doing that. And I've had students that haven't even been able to take their semester exam because they, just waited too long and weren't paying attention and didn't make good enough grades to even be able to take their test. So, keep up with that. If you don't make an 80 or above, retake it. Now your teacher is going to take your first grade, but they can look at that from their end. So retake it and retake it and retake it until you get that 80. And the more you retake it anyways, the more you learn it. And you can do the same thing when it comes time to get ready for the final test at the end of the semester. You can, you can retake your test. Like you can retake the orientation test to practice and study. So keep that in mind as you go through. And I think that's, I just wanted to go over kind of everything. Again, TPT is the pharmacy technician. That's always these books. Okay, HS is your blue textbook, your math workbook. It looks like this, at least. This math calculations, kind of green on the back. Okay, that's that. Anyways, if you guys, again, have any questions or anything like that, let me know, and I will try to do my best to answer them. And I guess I will talk to you later.